when your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but finally a city so grand. A city so grand.
Our opening words today are from Elizabeth Lerner McClay. As drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so we are drawn together, so we are fortunate to find each other, so we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think in a certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly and helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. Good morning and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Barb Eglinton. It may say that Jessie Sanchez is the service leader today. She has a bit of a cold and with the abundance of caution has asked me to step in. So I am the program moderator here at UUCF. And this morning we're fortunate to have guest speaker Karla from SPN Survivors, and I'll tell you more about her in just a little bit. I want to extend a special welcome to any visitors, and after the service, we have coffee and bagels downstairs. While we are in the meeting house, we are observing COVID precautions and wearing masks regardless of vaccination status, unless you're at the mic. Religious educations are being held in the classrooms. If you need to know where they are, the ushers can show you where they are. Joys and sorrows will be shared later in the service, and there's 3 ways you can share. There are blue cards in the pulpits, in the holders. You can also come up to the microphone and share your joy or sorrow. If you're watching online or don't feel comfortable with either of those options, you can text the number on the first page of the order of service, and I will read it during the sharing. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and then join with me to recite our shared mission. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. Now I'd like to invite Liz up for a special announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Liz Knight. I'm the president of the board here at UCF, and I'm sure you're wondering who this lovely person is standing next to me. So this is our new minister, Reverend Karen Madrone. So Reverend Karen will be starting with us the first week of May, but she is here this weekend getting the lay of the land, the geography, looking for apartments, things like that. So if you see her around, she'll be sticking around for coffee hour. So she'll be available to chat, introductions, things like that. She'll also be here during the Spring Fling, which is in 3 weeks, I think, on the 30th. So we are just really glad and excited to have her here.
Well, I just wanted to say a quick word of thank you to the search committee and to all of you for your wonderful welcome already so far. I'm very excited to become your contract minister in May, and my wife and my dog are also here this weekend, and we have really enjoyed our just driving around and seeing the whole area. It's very beautiful, so we are looking forward to coming here. And I look forward to speaking with you at coffee hour and getting to know you further over our time together. Thank you.
So, in addition to Reverend Karen, I'm also here today on behalf of the fundraising committee and the executive board. And I have one question for everyone here. Are you in? Yes, you're involved. You support this community with your talents and your spirit. You are included, and you include everyone, just like we said with our mission statement right there. You invest in UUCF by volunteering your time and making financial contributions through the pledges you make each year. And that's what I'm here to talk about today, because today officially kicks off our annual stewardship campaign. I'm in. How about you? So we are closing in on the 23-24 fiscal year. We need your help to support and grow this community. Our biggest focus this year for the next upcoming year is in the areas of payroll and religious education. So first, of course, we're bringing in our new minister, Reverend Karen. Full-time ministry has been a goal of this congregation for a long time, and this year we get to see it in reality. Additionally, we have amazing staff here that work every week hard to provide the community and the services you see, like Diana, Dave, Cheryl in the office, and Corey downstairs with the kids. We want to make sure we're paying each of our employees a fair wage. And for that religious education program, we need to be sure we're staffing for the proper amount of hours needed to address the growing youth population we have. For the first time in a long time, we're going to have a minister and a religious education coordinator working in the congregation. And some points just real quick on payroll and staffing. Anyone who's got questions can come see me. The UUA national organization has an entire compensation department that runs information on congregation size, geographic zone, the different job titles and roles, how many hours an individual works, and makes recommendations for those roles based on the responsibilities, the area, and the member size of the congregation. So we're trying to bring all of our staff to the midpoint of those recommendations, which keeps us competitive. As you can tell, we spent the last year searching, so that makes us keeps us a strong and attractive congregation for our staff. As well as our RE coordinator, Corey, is currently employed 10 hours a week. Natalie, who was before and even before that, was 20 hours a week. The board thought last year the RE job could be done at 10 hours a week. It can't. And the more kids that come in the door, the more hours is needed. So we want to bring that position back to 20 hours a week. And lastly, we have two very lovely high school RE staff who work downstairs. We would like to add a third to go with those growing numbers. We've got more nursery age kids coming in, and all of those little boys that were up here that were like kindergartners, they're in middle school. They're going to be teenagers. So those of you that raised your kids and remember the teen groups and all that, we are not that far away from being in that position again. So we want to make sure that we can continue to support those growing RE numbers and our staff. So as a result, this is one of the largest increases in stewardship we've asked for in a number of years. And by we, I mean the board and all your standing committees, all the parts of the wheel that keep this place running. So keep an eye out for stewardship letters in your mail. They went out this week. They might have already arrived. Some people might still be on the way for others. But we are asking you to make a commitment to pledge to UUCF this year so we can provide our staff, our kids, and our community the financial resources and support that it deserves. So get those pledges in no later than April 30th so the board can do the work of balancing the budget before the congregational meeting. But hey, if everybody steps up and contributes in line with the goals, my job's really easy. Thanks. I don't like having to balance budgets. Okay, so, but I know everyone here has stepped up when it's needed. You were in when we installed the elevator. You were in when we updated the parking lot. People were in for technology updates. Now I'm asking each of you to invest in our kids, our staff, and our community. So ask yourself, are you in?
Hi, my name is Yvonne. I'm with the Social Justice Committee. Just want to remind everybody that the Crop Hunger Walk is coming up on May 7th, and 75% of the funds go to help people all around the world, and 25% goes to local food pantries. And so anybody that's going to be walking in the Crop Hunger Walk this year, would you be willing to stand up? You can contribute to one and sponsor one of the walkers. And so thank you, everybody, for walking, and please sponsor one of the walkers. And thank you very much.
Three verses.
Come on now. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For say it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me, come on now. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Say what? For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on brother when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
Well, thank you, Kelly. It's so much easier to sing and sound great when you're leading us. I wonder if the rivers ever despair of its downward destiny and harbors a secret desire to flow uphill. I wonder if winter yearns to be summer, or if a flower wishes it could bloom out of season. I wonder if silence would like to shout, or if the sky wants to fall down and become earth. I wonder if the bird longs to be a rabbit, or if the fish ever dreams of walking on land. I wonder if the mountains envy the valleys, or if snow secretly covets the warmth of June. I wonder if the moon complains that it is not the sun, or if the stars envy the earth. I wonder if rain prefers a cloudless sky, or if grass tires of green and hopes to be blue. I wonder if spring really likes growing, or if fall rages against its colorful dying. I wonder if the world ever sighs after more than it is, like you and I, like you and I. O Spirit of life, we struggle against our limitations. Teach us to accept them. Karla Truxell is a passionate mental health advocate and founder of SPN Survivors and creator of AFK, Always Keep Fighting, Squad, and the Foundation's building blocks. She studied social work at Grand Valley State University and graduated with a degree in sociology from Penn State. She's an author in the chapter book, Families Don't End with Blood, Cast and Fans on How Supernatural Has Changed Lives, where her story and SPN Survivors have become a living legacy in the TV show's 15th season. Karla loves starting conversations about mental health everywhere she goes and is always inspired by the people she meets. Karla?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. As she said, my name is Karla Truxell. I have my husband Dave with me. We are both the founders of SPN Survivors. And how we got started is, unfortunately, I lost my nephew Mason back in 2010, and to suicide. And his death blindsided me and just shattered my heart and ripped a hole through it and left me not okay. And I knew shortly thereafter that I needed some sort of help, but I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know who to ask. And I remember doing a half-hearted Google search, but I didn't even know what words to use. And unfortunately, it was made very clear after the funeral that talking about that was not happening. And so unfortunately, I ended up suffering in silence for 2 years until a TV show, of all things, came along and found me in a very broken state. And the TV show is Supernatural, and that show has a way of speaking to people who are broken, who feel like they don't fit in, who are struggling. And I used it as my escape. And in the process of watching these two brothers travel across the country fighting what goes bump in the night, and watching their struggles, I found the strength to face my own monsters and demons and come out the other side stronger. So real quick, when I mentioned not knowing where to look for resources, I hope everyone got an Oakland County resource card when you came in with your with today's service. I want to call it a bulletin. The reason we put that together, as a nonprofit, we will always shine a spotlight on resources. Our goal is for you to know that those organizations exist and the work that they do, so you can share that information with others. There's resources on there from taking classes on how to recognize the signs if someone is struggling, to the crisis text line, to the new 988 suicide prevention line. I hope you guys are aware of that. And then on the back is also some resources that are more support group, some awesome websites full of information to help you, your kids, your family find the help that you need or have a better understanding. And I hope today and what I have to say will give you a better understanding of basic mental health as well. So anyway, Supernatural found me and helped me find my way back. And I ended up seeing a grief counselor. That's where I started. And after that journey, my husband and I realized we needed to take our loss and the journey that we had been on and pay it forward to help others. So when we started, we thought we were just building a website to shine a spotlight on resources, which all those resources on that card and more are on our website. We had no idea we were starting a nonprofit, but thanks to the fandom of Supernatural, I reached out to the company that puts on the conventions and asked if I could have a table in the vendor's room. I said, I don't have a thing to sell, I just have a conversation I want to start. And one of the lead actors from the show started an Always Keep Fighting campaign, and I didn't know he was going to do that 10 days before that first convention in March of 2015, and he didn't know there was going to be a mental health presence. But the energy that weekend was incredible, and the fandom was just like, yes, please, we need this. So I went home knowing we had stepped into something way bigger than what we had thought. And because I remember saying, we got to get registered, we got to get legit, this is going places. And so thankfully we got advice to take a year to figure out what we want to do before becoming a nonprofit in 2016. So we have offices for the first time in 2021 in Livonia, and we are working hard to make a difference here in our backyard, as well as continue to travel and do conventions across the country and meet people where they're at. So today, I want to focus on the foundation's building blocks. So I was just having a conversation yesterday and realized our curriculum, we are an education nonprofit, and our curriculum is kind of like a three-legged stool. And one of those legs is the building blocks, another of those legs is the coping skills, and another of those legs is the animals that we have brought to life through illustration to be messengers of mental health to help teach basic mental health education to the littles, is what I've been hearing mental health professionals call that, the littles. So there's some purpose in this logo here. So the top here where it says foundations, think of that as an umbrella. That it represents culture. Our culture is big umbrella over us and affects everything underneath it that we do. I'll come back to that. At the top here, we have awareness. Awareness is at the top because we first need to be aware. Before we can change anything, we have to know what it is we're working on. Safety is down here in the middle. That is the number one thing. If you don't first and foremost feel safe in your environment and in your own body, it's really hard to do much of anything else because that need has to be met first. So safety is purposely here in the bottom, in the middle, and then we have connection and choice. So these three are really important. They're kind of like at the bottom because they need to support everything above it. Okay, culture. As I said, it touches everything. It's all around you, shaping your brain, your behavior, and who you are. And the simplest example of culture I have is like within your home. As parents, like when Dave and I got married, we got to choose the culture of our home. And what I hadn't stopped to think about until doing this is even the foods that we choose to eat comes from culture. I'm Hungarian. I grew up eating a lot of potatoes. Potatoes go with everything. But yet other families, it's pasta, or other families, it could be rice. So the fun story I have is when the boyfriend of one of my daughters, in the early days of their dating, when he came over, he knew we were having beef stroganoff, and he was shocked to find that we serve it over potatoes. And he's like, where's the pasta? And I'm like, pasta? I'm like, no, you put it over potatoes. He's like, no, it goes over pasta. So we still jokingly banter about that still. But that's just an example of how culture, you don't even think about it. It impacts you. And the culture can be different at home versus at school, at work, here at church. I will share, I don't know if I want to say you guys made me cry. The song, Lean on Me, when I was asked what kind of music I would like today, and I said upbeat and hopeful. And it's been a while since I sang those songs and really heard those lyrics, and it just hit me, and I ended up crying, and then I'm like, this is not this is not the state I want to be in when I got to come up here and talk. But it just touched my heart, and I do want to say, I stood back there when a lot of you came in, and the number of hello, you didn't know who I was, but everybody was saying hello and greeting me. This is an awesome culture that you guys have, a very welcoming, and I felt that, and I appreciate that, and I will talk about that more in a little bit. That was awesome, so thank you for being you. So before we can talk about mental health, first we need to know what we're talking about and on the same page for a definition. So mental health affects how you feel, how you think, and how you act, how you behave as you cope with life. So basically, it touches everything. It determines how you handle stress, how you relate to others, and how you make choices and perform at work and school. So mental health is different from mental illness, just like physical health is different from physical illness. But I hear mental health and mental illness being used interchangeably as if they're the same thing, and they're two separate things. We want to do things to take care of our mental health, and just like with physical health, you can do things to avoid mental illness as well. Not always, just like with physical health, not always, but you can do a lot. So that's our starting point. Another key piece to understanding mental health is these three words: perception, interpretation, response. How you perceive something determines your interpretation of it and therefore your response. And sometimes the key, if you're stuck, obsessing about something, you have a hard time getting past something, the key is just shifting that perception a little bit, and it can make all the difference. So, window of tolerance. Has anybody ever heard those words before? You're not, those who haven't, if I learned this in college, I had long since forgotten. So until about 5 years ago, this was not on my radar. So I'm a visual person, so I brought props. So our window of tolerance, when we are in that, we are calm, we are centered, life is good. So just this is a picture of me, that's my feet, sitting on the beach in Florida, just taking in the sunshine, enjoying the beautiful day. When we're within our window of tolerance, we can handle whatever's coming at us. We're in a good space. So ideally, our window of tolerance should be larger than us, so that when things happen, there's wiggle room. What I have observed is most people are walking around barely fitting within their window of tolerance. And so it takes very little for them to get pushed outside of it. And when we get pushed outside, at the top is fight or flight. We go into fight, flight, or freeze. So if you go into fight, that can be anger, that can be, just erupting, not handling things well. Flight is you're like, ah, and you're running away from your problems. And freeze is shut down, withdrawal. So as a person, how you're wired, you will be naturally inclined to go into one of those three spaces. Me, myself, I rarely go into fight mode, personality-wise. I have learned that if you mess with my kids, I'm mama bear. I will go into fight mode for my kids. But everything else, I tend to withdraw or run away. But emotionally, we can also go into fight, flight, or freeze. And a story I have for that is the ice storm that we had a month ago or whenever it was. My oldest daughter lost power for 4.5 days, and she had to come live with us, her and her 2 cats. If it was just her, it would have been no big deal, but her 2 cats made it more of an issue. And so that Thursday, I spent a ton of time prepping the bedroom to be cat-friendly. And I did a lot of work that was not on my original schedule that day. And by dinner time, I was tired, I was exhausted. I'm going to point out the shrinking of your window of tolerance. This is a picture frame. I don't know how well this is visible from back there. But the point is, you can feel the walls coming in on you when your window is shrinking, what you're able to handle. So like there's the frame, and then there's the mat, and then there's this, you can just feel it smaller, smaller, and smaller. So on that day, I knew I was at the end of my rope. I was tired, I just wanted to be done and to take a break. I did not share that information with my family, that I had zero capacity to handle anything else. And my daughter innocently asked, hey, do you think, since I'm going to be working out of the family room tomorrow, do you think we could make it so that my cats could be in here with me? I went into fight mode. I'm like, I'm not moving any more crap for your cats. And I'm done. And I remember, I don't remember if you were in the room or not, but she was just like, whoa, where did that come from? And my point is, if I would have shared, I knew that my window of tolerance was shrinking and I had little capacity. If I would have shared that with my family members, she would have known not a good time to ask mom. And in a couple hours, I probably would have been okay. But I did not share that. I kind of exploded on her. And after I got a good night's sleep and I had a chance to process and come back to that question, the next morning I said, okay, let's move the cat tree. Let's do what we can do for you to have the cats in here while you're working. So that's an example of that day I was very much operating in this big of a window of tolerance. And it didn't take much for it to shrink and for me to explode. So the building blocks, safety. And I pause for a minute at the end. Downstairs we have a table set up, and we have card sets with all these blocks and information on it, and you are more than welcome to take one of those with you. I believe I brought enough for everybody. So safety, the number one thing that we need to take care of our mental health, to feel first and foremost safe within our bodies. So safety, how we achieve that need, routine, knowing what to expect. Even all the email conversations I had before coming here today helped me know what to expect, and that kind of lowers what you're anxious or worried about, is because you know what to expect. So that's why routine is really important with kids, having a regular bedtime routine and dinner and first day of school, like kindergarten roundup. The whole point of that is so that kids can see the building and meet their teacher, and you're removing all that uncertainty. Uncertainty and unpredictability kind of messes with our sense of safety. So routine is key. Body regulation, that's sleep, food, taking care of yourself that way. The structure of your day, how you're organized. I don't know how many of you, like if you walk into a messy room and you're just like, oh, and you're just like immediately stressed because you just see messes everywhere. So like I prefer not to have a messy kitchen when I go to, if I come downstairs and that's the first thing I see is the kitchen's a mess, that just kind of like, oh, and just like suck the energy right out of you. That's kind of part of that sense of, it's part of that safety block. Okay. For most, when I was talking about window of tolerance, this is the area that we want to be operating in the majority of the time. So arousal is just anything that catches our attention. It can be a sound, it can be seeing the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm late, or whatever. You get that arousal, and there can be some stress attached to that. There's stress in taking a test and stress before a performance. I'm getting better at there not being a lot of stress in me public speaking. But this is, not all stress is bad. This is normal. The problems kind of happen once we have pain. So with Mason's death, that was a huge injury to my nervous system. That was a traumatic event. And there is what mental health professionals, there's what they call big T and little t trauma. So big T trauma is abuse, is a car accident, is the death of my nephew, grief. Little t can be, one example my friend gave was how he had to do a presentation when he was younger in school and he didn't do well, and the kids laughed at him, and that really, really impacted him. But that can cause, anything that causes pain, it can immediately put you over here into trauma, but like with a car accident, I don't know how many of you have been in one, but just or even close calls, the next time, how comfortable are you getting behind a wheel and driving? Or if you're approaching an intersection and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is just like this previous time, and your heart can start racing and palm sweating, and you get all those stress responses. I had something like that happen to me with my oldest daughter. We were in Westland and there was construction at an intersection, and I'm in the left turn lane wanting to turn left, and I'm being told by a construction worker I can't because I have to let this construction vehicle, this big truck, I don't know what he was trying to do, but what he was doing was coming straight at me and the car next to me. And I'm just like, I have nowhere to go. And I'm looking at the car next to me, and she's kind of like the same thing. And the panic that set in, and I'm just like, let me out of this situation. And my daughter only lived like a mile from there. I didn't know if I was going to be okay to make it to her apartment or not. I seriously thought about pulling over once I finally was able to turn, but I couldn't get out of that car fast enough. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. And I wasn't sure what previous experience that was bringing up for me, but oh my goodness, that pain that I suffered from, I believe it was from when I was in high school, and we spun around on the highway and we were going the wrong direction, and a semi had lost control and coming at us. I believe that's what, those experiences, they don't leave your body. Your body, there's a book called Your Body Keeps the Score, Knows the Score. It doesn't forget. We might, but I panicked in that situation because of something that had happened, geez, like 35 years ago. And in that moment, I was not okay. So I had to get out of the car, got a hug from my daughter, and then I practiced some coping skills, which I will talk about in a little bit. But if pain that is not dealt with, that is not felt and processed so you can release it, it stays there and can create fear. And then there's that anxiety, and it just builds and builds and builds. So, whoops, it helps if I hit the right button. So yeah, the goal is to operate down here, and if we find ourselves here, I strongly encourage you to reach out for help and get the support that you need to heal that pain so you can process that and manage life and spend more time in your window of tolerance. All right, connection. This is where you guys got me, hit me right in the feels, did that Lean On Me song. Connection is, first and foremost, your self-worth, you feeling worthy of love and connection. It's also the relationships. It's creating a safe space where you can truly be yourself and express what you need and share that with others. I feel like it's obvious to say connection, very important. But it's hard to have connection if we don't first and foremost feel safe. I will share that after Mason died, I was shocked at some of the rude, insensitive things that were said to me, more about how Mason died. I was trying to open up and share that I was struggling and hurting, and people I thought I could trust, and they came back at me not with love, and not with grace, and not with compassion. And I was just like, wow, okay, not safe space. So to be honest, in the beginning, I made very little effort to make a difference here in my own backyard and spent most of my time in the fandom because that audience was ready to talk about it. They got it. But I just I think it's sad how we don't stop and truly active listen and show and hold space for other people's pain, but then the damage that can do sometimes for people. Choice. We all have a sense, we have a sense to have control. Choice is about assessing your situation, knowing what your options are, and what can you do to immediately impact your environment. So like when I was having that panic in the car, I seriously thought about pulling over at a convenience store, party store type thing, just a parking lot, just to get out of the car. Like, what are my choices? I'm not okay. What can I immediately do to impact my surroundings to bring myself back out of that panic and back into my window of tolerance? So knowing what your choices are, what you can do to immediately impact it. Acceptance. So a lot of times we have expectations. So choice is about releasing expectations of yourself and others. But a lot of times we'll have expectations way up here, and reality comes in down here. And now we've got this gap. And I'm just throwing us all under the bus. We collectively as a society are really good at fighting against. I'm like, no, we want the expectation, but this is the reality. And sometimes it's really hard to lean into that acceptance and go, okay, but here's what I'm looking at. What can I do right now in this space with what's in front of me? Beliefs. So I want to add beliefs here. I'm not talking about faith. Your faith is an added layer onto this. Beliefs about how you see the world around you. They are shaped from your experiences and your thoughts and emotions connected to those experiences. So a lot of people have a fear of dogs. And that fear comes from an experience, usually when they were a kid, an unpleasant experience with a dog. I did not grow up with dogs. I had a lot of bad and questionable experiences with the dog, so it took a long time for me to become a dog person and a dog owner. And now I know dogs love me, but it took me a long time to love them back because that safe space, I needed to feel safe around them before I could feel that. But with beliefs, on the card set that you'll get on the back, it asks you to explore your beliefs and about the world around you. Where did those come from? And which ones need to shift? Because a lot of times our beliefs, even like with food, like, oh, I don't like that. Okay, well, you didn't like it as a kid, but try it again. Maybe you like it now. There's a lot of ways that we live confined, I guess, based on beliefs that are from our past. And that doesn't mean that it's still true today, because we're not the same person today. Identity. Beliefs can interfere with this too. Identity is kind of, we had help from mental health professionals in creating the framework with these blocks. Identity is kind of a 50-50. It's half of how you see yourself, so your self-image, how you see yourself and how you think others see you, and the other side is your personality, which creates how people see you. And a lot of times how they see us and how we think they see us are not the same. And we spend a lot of time worrying about how other people, especially teenagers, worrying about how other people see us, and our actions being more about how others see us versus being true to who we really are. So this next slide, I found this graphic and I'm like, this just says it beautifully. And if you think back to teenage you, you're in survival mode, you're trying to fit in. And like the conversations you have with yourself, you think that you have to change who you are in order to be accepted versus being proud to be unique, proud to be you. The belief that you have to hide the pieces that make you different. I just recently had a conversation involving young people, and they're like, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to draw attention to myself. And also believing that you have to follow the trends and what works for others. We tend to operate that way as part of puberty and figuring out who you are. And I have no research to back this up. This is just a gut feeling. I feel like we spend so much time doing that as teenagers that sometimes we never leave that space as adults. But what we should be striving for is to be our true authentic self and creating that sense of belonging. Finding and creating a community where I feel accepted for who I am. And like I said earlier, I feel you guys have got this one. How can I share my whole self to cultivate meaningful relationships? Your relationships are much deeper when you show up truly who you are. And how can I let my creativity lead the way to opportunity and connection? One thing I've learned in this process is with our safety block, that fear of uncertainty. But out of uncertainty is where creating new things is born. And creativity is an amazing thing. And so having that, allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to do that can be huge. Awareness. So like I said at the beginning, awareness, you got to be aware of something before you can change it. So awareness involves being in the moment, being present, reducing stimuli, giving your body and your brain time to process what you experience each day and what you feel. Feel those feelings so that you can process them and release them. But reducing stimuli, I've been paying a lot of attention recently how when I'm at a traffic light, the number of people in the cars around me, they're on their phone. Standing in line at the grocery store or whatever, people are on their phone. At a restaurant, people are on their phone. And I'm like, just be. We need to just be. Give our brains a break to process. Have that downtime. It's important. And also under awareness is that perception, interpretation, response. Being aware of how you perceive things and therefore how you're responding according to that. So this is another graphic showing the window of tolerance, and I liked this one. Everybody sees things a little differently. This one really struck me because it said to think of it like a river. And when a river is narrow, that's when the water is faster, it can be more unpredictable, unstable, but when it gets wider, it can be calmer. So I liked that concept of it. So I will read what's on here because I realized I didn't really say this stuff earlier. But when your window shrinks, stress and trauma can cause your window of tolerance to shrink. I guess I did illustrate that with my story with my daughter. But expanding it, when you realize you've been pushed outside of your window of tolerance, how do you bring yourself back in? When I was having that panic attack after driving, breathing, taking the deep breaths, which I'm going to skip ahead here for a minute. So box breathing. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but I'm going to share with you a couple things that are available to you at any time of day. The box breathing. Everything is done, a box has 4 sides, so everything's done in 4. So breathing in for a slow count to 4, holding it for a slow count of 4, exhaling for a slow count of 4, and then pausing for a slow count of 4. Ideally, do it for a minimum of 4 times. That helps calm your body, bring everything back to center. If you can do it longer, like the mindfulness app on my thing on my phone wants me to do it, my phone, that's my watch, wants me to do it for a minute. If you can do it for 4 minutes, even better. Because back here on the side, these words, distracting, coping, healing, evolving, as a culture, we're really good at distraction. Like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I'm gonna go over here and distract myself. Distraction's not bad. It's very helpful in a lot of situations, but if that's the only thing you got, it's short term. It doesn't solve the problem big term, long term. So escaping into a book, a good book, escaping into a universe, giving yourself a break from your life's problems. It is good for you. I don't want to knock that at all, but I encourage you to do coping skills that have more impact on your body, how you operate internally. So those breathing exercises, mindfulness, meditation, all of that has long-term positive benefits on your body. There's another thing called bilateral tapping. So let me put this down. I like to do it, other people call it butterfly hug. I like to do it this way, but it's just that if you find, oh, I'm hitting the microphone. If you find yourself just like needing a moment, if you do this, you need to do it for at least like 1 to 2 minutes. The longer you do it, the better. It's another way to relax your body. If this doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can do it on your legs. But it's that bilateral stimulation has an amazing impact on you. That's why walking is so therapeutic. It's that bilateral left, right, left, right, left, right. There's a therapy called EMDR that uses your eye movement and going left to right, which I will share. That was after Mason's death, the trauma of that moment when I got that phone call and heard what had happened and the shock to my system, that created physical symptoms in me that were not fun, and I thought I had to live with them for the rest of my life. I lived with that for 9 years before I found EMDR, and EMDR, it's not for everybody. It really challenged my safety and connection blocks. I had to really trust my counselor in order to do that, because it involved going back and reliving that moment, but I was able to release all of that from my body, and I am now like 95% free of those symptoms that I had for 9 years. And those symptoms were, I mean, everybody feels stress in their body someplace different. I feel mine in my chest. Others feel it in their stomach. You may feel it in your shoulders or in your neck. A lot of people get headaches. Mine is always in my chest, and that tension in my chest would get so strong if I let it escalate, if I didn't have something to stop it, it would feel like my rib cage was like trying to squeeze the air out of my lungs, and I felt like my body was trying to kill me. I would have that. I would have internal shaking. I remember being just incredulous, just unshocked that nobody could see how bad I was shaking, but yet I felt like I was shaking like a tree. Like when you're shivering, you're so cold, your teeth are chattering. I felt like that, and nobody could see that. And I'm like, how can you not see this? They were really bad symptoms, but EMDR, circling back, that bilateral, huge gift. So thankful for that. So that's part of when I'm talking about coping skills that are more than distraction, that have long-term helpful benefits to you. Seek those out, because that's what leads you to healing and evolving, growing, and becoming a better you. I am so thankful for as much pain that this Mason's death has caused me. It's gonna make me cry, which is okay. I want to share that. Crying is a good thing. Crying is your body saying, I need to release. And it also is telling me there's still pain there that I still need to process and work through. But it has taken me years to be able to say, I'm thankful for this journey. Because for the first however many years, it was miserable. I was a hot mess. Oh, and I did want to share this as far as connection goes. I was a hot mess, and as a result, I could not be the mom that my kids needed me to be. I could barely take care of myself. It felt like I was struggling to keep my own head above water. And thankfully, my girls had friends with awesome moms, and those moms stepped up and were the people they needed in their life, and I'm so grateful for that. And because of the damage that my pain did to my relationship with my kids, I think we're going on 3 years ago now, I sat down and had one-on-one conversations with my kids and apologized for not being there for them and invited them to share with me what that experience was like. They were in 6th and 8th grade when Mason died, so not exactly fun times for them with being puberty and everything. And I knew I had to sit there and listen and not argue, not, oh, no, that's not, just hear their side of the story and share with me what that was like so that we could repair a relationship and have one, because I want to have good quality relationships with my kids. And with my oldest, that heart-to-heart conversation has done wonders, and I'm so thankful for that. So that's healing and evolving. I am definitely on that journey and grateful for it. Talked about the box breathing. And then finishing up, like I said earlier, we are a mental health education nonprofit. So if you're curious on how you can help, the obvious answers are, if you're interested in volunteering, we have some volunteer roles we're looking to fill. Being invited to come and speak here. This is awesome to help share who we are and what we do. If you're connected to other organizations or things out in the community that you think my coming to talk would be helpful, I would love to hear about it. Our resource cards that you got, if you have a business or somewhere else where those can be handed out, connected to a school, first responders, our goal is to get that information out there. And network. If you know people that you think we should be connected to, let me know, hook us up. And you can find us on social media and our website, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Karla. So much wisdom and practical advice. Awesome. We'll now do the offering, and we know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We're so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope.
May you always walk in sunshine, slumber warm when night winds blow. May you live with laughter, for a smile becomes you so. May good fortune find your doorway. May the bluebirds sing your song. May no trouble travel your way. May no worries stay too long. May your heartaches be forgotten. May no tears be spilled. May old acquaintance be remembered, and your cup of kindness filled. And may you always be a dreamer. May your wildest dreams come true. May you find someone to love as much as I love you.
A perfect heart is one who has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that's been shared. I'm going to light 3 candles, one for the unspoken joys, for the unspoken joys and sorrows, and for the support of this community. All right, our second hymn is also in the Teal Hymnal, number 1007. There's a river flowing in my soul, and we'll sing 3 verses.
There's also a repeat at the end, so just follow me.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart and in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Our closing words come from Henry David Thoreau. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? We are determined to be starved before we are hungry. I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. I wish to learn that life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I have not lived. I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear. Nor do I wish to practice resignation unless it is quite necessary. I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. I want to cut a broad swath, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. If it proves to mean than to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and published its meanness to the world. Or, if it is sublime, to know it by experience and to be able to give a true account of it.